Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of Comeback Format. And today I'm going to be testing out a couple of disposable film cameras. Both of them Kodak and both of them expired. As you can see from the sticker right here, both of them were finds from thrift stores. And they have been expired for a few years. This one has been expired since 2016 and this one right here has been expired since 2008. So in this video I'm going to test them out and see how they work even though they were thrift store finds and they have been expired for several years. And I always liked finding cameras like this on thrift stores because they are a big mystery. You don't know if they're going to work or if there's something wrong with it. Perhaps they have been stored in really bad conditions in somebody's basement for several years. Perhaps the batteries are dead. Perhaps the flash is not working. Perhaps you can't get it even developed at your lab. But in general, I have tried expired disposable film cameras in the past, and generally they worked okay, or a lot better than I thought that they would. Especially if they are sealed inside. This one has been opened a little bit, but the camera hasn't been taken out of the bag. And this one right here is completely sealed. And if I can find it for a really good price at the thrift store, you usually don't pay more than $2 or $3 for this kind of cameras. I paid $3 for this one, and this one was only $2. So if I can find it for a really cheap price, I will take the risk and try them out to see how the pictures come out. So yeah, in this video I'm going to be trying both of these cameras in similar conditions, similar kind of photos to see how they perform or if they perform at all. Okay, so let's take a closer look at both cameras. As you can see, they're both the same brand and it seems to be the same model as well, even though the packaging looks slightly different. But this one is right here is the one that expired in 2016 and it was made in the USA, or the film was made in the USA by Kodak, and the camera itself was made in China. And this one right here expired in 2008. And both the camera and it looks like the film as well was made in Mexico. And this one does have the 800 ISO indication here for the film. This one doesn't, but I assume it's the same kind of 800 ISO film since they are both the same brand and it seems to be the same model as well. So let's go ahead and open this one first. By the way, here's what's in the back. Not much information really, just another picture. It does say that it has a built-in flash. Hopefully it works, but we'll see in this video. And usually they come in this very sealed type of packaging to protect the film. And there it is. Here's the camera. This is the one that was expired, or that expired in 2016, so 6 years ago. Pretty standard looking type of disposable film camera with the flash button right here, the flash, the viewfinder here that goes through, small lens. In the top you get the shutter button, the exposure count. This is the light for the flash ready, and the viewfinder here. And this is where you actually will roll to pass to the next exposure in the film. Let's take a look at this one. Expect that to be a very similar type of camera. Similar kind of packaging too. And there it is. This one has a nice orange design here on the side, but everywhere else it seems to be pretty similar. Expired or developed before June of 2008 for this one, and made in Mexico. And the flashes for both of them seem to be working just fine. The batteries have not died. And another minor thing that I noticed was that the flash here and for this one is supposed to work from between 4 feet to 14.5 feet. And this one right here is from 2.5 feet to 14 feet. Alright, so for my first sample photo, I took my buddy Hunter out to my deck just to test things out. And these are the two pictures that I ended up with. The one on the left is the one that expired in 2008. The one on the right expired in 2016. And as you can see, two very different pictures. The one on the left definitely lost a lot of the saturation, a lot of the contrast is gone. Whereas the one on the right still has a lot of the contrast, but the focus is slightly off. It's definitely not on Hunter. If you compare it to the one that expired in 2008, and the focus seems to be okay, and surprisingly the clarity and the detail are still fine. It's just that the saturation, the color and the contrast are definitely gone. And this next picture will show you the difference again in the focus issue. And the one on the left seems like everything is in focus, whereas the one that expired in 2016, the branches in the background seem to be in focus, but the Hunter is just slightly off. And I understand that these cameras are fixed focus cameras, but they're usually designed to have everything in focus. That's how they are normally set up to be, just so you can get a nice panoramic picture of a landscape and a portrait as well. But in this case, it just seems like the one that expired in 2016 may be just slightly off focus. And I wanted to show you this next picture just to show you how unpredictable the results can be with these types of cameras. And I'm not sure exactly what happened to the picture in the left. It looks like some kind of explosion. Perhaps the flash or the light from the flash bounced somewhere and it hit it back into the lens. Yeah, this kind of things happen when you shoot with this kind of old, especially disposable types of film cameras. That's just the nature of the game. And another thing that I wanted to mention was that the flash feature in these two cameras were very unpredictable. Sometimes when I pressed the flash button, the flash would go off, and sometimes it didn't. And sometimes when I didn't press the button, the flash would go off even if it was sunny outside. So it was very, very unpredictable and hard to tell when the flash was going to go off. And here's another example on just how different the pictures were with the two different cameras. The picture in the left almost looks like it was taken either in the evening or in the early morning. This was in a bright, sunny summer day, and it just ended up so different. The one on the right, on the other hand, ended up with a lot of contrast, more similar to what it was in reality. And even some of the color in the trees in the background ended up very nicely saturated, as well as the sky. I wanted to see how the cameras would perform indoors. Fortunately, the flash went off in both of these pictures. And as you can see, very similar results as before, especially with the color saturation in the one that expired in 2016. Nicely saturated, great contrast as well. The focus just slightly off, as usual in the one in 2016. But I also like the nice vignette that was created around the frame in the picture on the right. It's definitely also in the one on the left, but it's more noticeable in the one on the right for sure. And here's an example of pictures taken outdoors, but in the shade. And as you can see clearly in the one on the left, definitely underexposed. Again, the saturation, the color is off. You can definitely see a little bit of the grain also from the film. But the one on the right, the colors and the saturation and the contrast seems to be okay. However, the same issue that we had in the past pictures, the focus is way off in this one. And the same thing in these two pictures. Again, the one that expired in 2008, completely underexposed, even though the flash went off in both of the pictures. And the one on the right actually looks really nice with nice colors there in the blankets in the background, including the nice vignette around the frame in the one that expired in 2016. And lastly, I wanted to show you how a landscape picture would end up in a nice sunny summer day. And these are the results. And as you can see, very similar results as before. But the first thing that I noticed when I saw the picture on the left was that this looks like some of Grandma's old pictures. It definitely has that kind of vintage, old-timey look and feel overall in the picture. Whereas the one on the right maybe looks a little bit more modern, more recent, even though it is old technology. But the saturation is there, high contrast, and everything seems to be in focus, especially in this landscape picture. So as far as the results, you could see the differences were very clear, especially with the one that expired in 2008. The saturation was very low, the pictures ended up very underexposed, the color wasn't quite there, but the focus seemed to be working just fine. And that camera was good to give you that kind of old-timey feel or vibe in the pictures that you ended up with. Whereas the one in 2016 seemed a little bit more recent. Definitely not as expired compared to the one from 2008. The colors were very good, the details were very good, the contrast was high, maybe a little bit too high in my opinion, but it seemed to be working okay. But the issue with that camera was that the focus was way off in that one. It seemed to be working fine for subjects that were very far away or with landscape pictures. But if you were trying to take pictures with somebody that was close to you, it just didn't work out very well. So which one do I prefer out of the two cameras? It depends. It depends on what you're trying to do with your photography. So in my opinion, if you're looking for something a little bit more artsy, maybe if you're trying to get that kind of vintage look in your pictures, I think the camera that expired in 2008 would be a good one, especially if you use it outdoors in a place with lots and lots of light. But if you're trying to just take pictures of your friends, maybe during a trip, maybe the one that expired in 2016 will be a little bit better, something that expired a little bit more recently, because you would still get a little bit of that grain from that expired film that a lot of people seem to like, but your pictures wouldn't end up a little bit better exposed, I think. But one thing to note is that you will need to have your subjects a little bit further out if you're trying to get a good picture of them in focus. So what do you think? What do you think about the two cameras? Let me know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Which one do you prefer? And there were 7 pictures that didn't make it into the camera that expired in 2008. But I do have those pictures from the camera that expired in 2016. So at the end of this video, I'm going to show you some pictures that didn't make it to the one that expired a little bit further out. So let me know what you think. Again, thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye-bye.